Welcome everyone to the closed session portion of the city council meeting. I'm calling this meeting to order. The time is now 4:30 p.m. Madam Clerk, can you please take roll?
Councilmember Gama,
Here.
Councilmember McQueen-Lejeune,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Perez,
Here.
and Mayor Martinez.
Present.
Councilmember Hernandez has not joined us yet.
We will now hear public comments. Zoom participants, please use the raise your hand feature. If you would like to comment, you will have 3 minutes to provide comments. Madam Clerk, does anyone have a public comment tonight?
No public comments for closed session.
Mr. City Attorney, can you please read the closed session item into the record?
Thank you, Mayor Martinez. We have one item of business for closed session tonight. It's public employee appointment pursuant to Government Code Sections 54957 and 54954, Subdivision E for city manager.
Okay, do any council members have any conflicts to disclose for the listed closed session agenda item? Okay, council will recess to closed session. The time is now 4:31 p.m. We'll be back at 6:30. Welcome everyone to the regular city council meeting. I'm calling this meeting to order. The time is now 6:33 p.m. Will you all please stand and join me for the flag salute? Ready, begin. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Clerk, can you please take roll?
Councilmember Gama,
Here.
Councilmember Hernandez. Here. Councilmember McQueen LaJean. Here. Mayor Pro Tem Perez.
Here.
And Mayor Martinez.
Present. All right. Good evening, everyone. Today, I will be the one providing the inspiration. And I want to say that as we gather here today, I want to take the moment to appreciate the beauty of the season, because just the other day we had officially had our first day of spring. It's a time when nature starts to come back to life, and the cold winter months are behind us, especially the rainy months, hopefully. We're now going to start to be surrounded by flowers and fresh greenery. But this year, the start of spring has an even greater significance for our community. We just recently celebrated the 75th anniversary with a wonderful parade and a street fair, which brought together people from all over the city to enjoy good music, good food, and lots of fun. And as we move forward from this milestone event, let's remember that it is just the beginning, that there are many more opportunities for us to come together to celebrate our diversity and make our city an even better place to live. So let's embrace the spirit of spring and promise of new beginnings, and continue to work together to make our community thrive. Thank you, everyone.
Nice.
Mr. City Attorney, can you please provide the closed session report?
Absolutely, Mayor Martinez. There was no reportable action taken in closed session tonight.
Okay. We will now hear public comments not pertaining to items on the agenda. Zoom participants, please use the raise your hand feature. If you would like to comment, you will have 3 minutes to provide comments. This process will be the same for comments pertaining to each agenda item. Madam Clerk, does anybody have a public comment tonight?
Yes, our first public comment is from Juliet.
Mayor Martinez and Council, my name is Juliet, and I'm a resident of the City of Port Hueneme, here to comment on the City of Port Hueneme 75th Anniversary Celebration on March 24th and 25th. Well, there are many that will play Monday morning quarterback and talk about what wasn't done, what could have been done, what should have been done. I'm here to talk about what was done. And the city contracted Maya Zumaya through REACH on December 5th to put together the city's 75th anniversary. And this was done with a small window of a little over 3 months. I watched that meeting, and when I didn't know Maya, but when I saw her come up, I thought, wow, I think this person has clearly lost it. Because as someone who has, for over 30 years, been involved with the organizing, planning, funding, and execution of large-scale events, I know that you need so much more lead time than 3 months. And, you know, when I looked at that, I thought even I would not have taken on that kind of a task, but she did. And incidentally, this celebration was not one event, but it really was an umbrella of multitude events under the umbrella of one event. You know, you had a car show, you had a pictorial postmark, there was a parade, there was a beer garden, there were vendors, a museum. There were so many things that every one of those elements would have required its own lead time. And yet here, someone took all of them on and was able to pull all of them off in a short time. To do that is nothing short of a miracle. So I stand here today to give accolades to a woman who stepped up to the plate on a task that few, if any, including myself, would not have taken, and then did the best possible to give the citizens of Port Hueneme a celebration to remember. So at the end of the day, I think it's not about looking at what was not done, but looking at what was done And at the end of the day, when you reflect back to all of the people you saw, the couples, the families, the children, and the ear-to-ear smiles that they each had, you know that this was a success. So, as a resident of Port Hueneme, I want to say thank you, Maya Zumaya, who I will add was not even a resident herself, for bringing my city's anniversary to life. If you could please stop my clock, because I have another comment not related. Okay. My second comment is I am really excited to have seen our city of elected officials at the recent commissioning of the USS Santa Barbara. And what surprised me a little bit is I know that you are our representatives, but no one there had any indication that our representatives were present. No one had a lapel pin, a name tag, anything. And so I don't know what the city provides our council, but I would only ask that if you are ever at attendance at a local event, a committee function, a state or federal meeting, that you please represent the city of Santa Barbara with some kind of indication. And this year I know Georgianne took, great effort to make these 75th anniversary pins, which I'm grateful for her having done. And so throughout this year, if you can just even wear these pins so that you take pride in this is our city, that would mean a lot to me and to many of the residents that elected you for these offices. Thank you.
Thank you, Juliet. It's okay. Are there any more public comments?
Our next comment is from Steve Kenny.
Evening, Mayor, Council. I'm Steve Kinney with Reach. And I just thought that you just heard these nice words from this very nice lady, Juliet, who came down. And I too am proud of Maya for the work that she did in putting together the 75th. But I thought it would be appropriate that somebody should say something nice about Juliet too. She's kind of a force of nature who I was not acquainted with before this came on this winter. But her idea of putting together the commemorative postmark and all the organizing that went around that was was really a charming feature of the event. Just the kind of thing that that helps capture the community spirit, just the way we want it to. So I really commend her for bringing the idea forward, but then not just the idea, but then the execution. Oh my God. I've never seen anyone who follows through on her previous follow through that just followed through on the one before that. I believe that Juliet could run a small country, and maybe not even a small one. I was so impressed with her work in putting that event together, and not surprisingly, it came off very well. And thank you, Mayor Pro Tem, for hosting that. That was a very nice day and a very nice touch, and wonderful to celebrate Orving Carpenter the way that happened. So it was, I thought, a great kickoff for the whole weekend, and I just wanted to make sure that Juliet got the recognition that she deserved for her part in it all. Thank you.
I have 4 written comments now that I'll just read really quickly. The first one is in regards to agenda item number 5. And I'm reading it because it's on consent at this time. Dear City Council members, please stop using polystyrene and single plastics in Port Hueneme. They are harmful to our environment and not necessary. We are begging you, please do your part to save our planet. Thank you, Maureen Tooney, a concerned citizen. The next one is also in regards to agenda item 5. It says, Dear City of Port Hueneme Council, I applaud you for your leadership in passing an ordinance to tackle the grave problem of plastic, taking action to reduce its impacts on our communities, oceans, and climate. Much of the responsibility for doing the right thing is falling to local leaders such as yourselves, and I am grateful that you are stepping up to the plate for people and planet. Sincerely, Kathleen Willer, concerned citizen. The next one is, Dear City of Port Hueneme Council, I applaud you for your leadership in passing an ordinance to tackle the grave problem of plastic, taking action to reduce its impacts on our communities, oceans, and climate, given the importance of this space to our city. Much of the responsibility for doing that right thing is falling to local leaders such as yourselves, and I am grateful that you are stepping up to the plate for people and planet. Thank you for taking positive steps to help guide our city into the future. Sincerely, Joseph Rogers, concerned citizen. And the next one is partial, general public comment and partial to agenda item 5. Port Hueneme City Council, can you please assist in getting speed humps put in the intersection of Market Street and Surfside Drive? Many vehicles dangerously speed in circles and then race up Surfside or Market. This reckless activity has gone on for years now, and there's no time to call police out in time to catch them in the act. Secondly, I'm not sure where you are at with polystyrene ban, but I hope it happens. Thank you. Anna DePaulo. And that concludes public comment.
Okay. Thank you, Madam Clerk. We're now going to move on to approve the agenda for today. May I have a motion and a second to approve the agenda?
Move to approve.
Second.
Madam Clerk, may we have a vote?
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none, motion carries unanimously.
Okay. Do any members of council have any conflicts of interest to disclose for any item on the agenda? Hearing none, we're going to move on to the presentations. The first presentation is the swearing in of the new police officer. Interim Police Chief Albertson will present the presentation.
Good evening, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, members of City Council, members of the public, and members of staff. Tonight, I'm going to present to you our newest police officer, Andrew Canino. We're going to do a quick badge pinning ceremony, and then we will swear him in. Police Officer Andrew Canino started his career with the Port Hueneme Police Department on March 20th, 2023. Prior to being hired by Port Hueneme, Andrew worked as a deputy sheriff for the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department since 2018. Andrew grew up in Sunland, California, and graduated from Village Christian High School in Sun Valley, where he played basketball, football, and volleyball. Andrew has earned 36 units from East Los Angeles Community College. Andrew knew at a young age that he wanted to be a police officer because he wanted to be the person who responded when people called for help. He is the first member of his family to pursue a career in law enforcement. In attendance tonight are several of Andrew's family members, his wife Ayla and their daughter Natalie, his brother Ryan, his brother Nico, and his future sister-in-law Alyssa, and Andrew's father Hector, who will be pinning on his badge tonight for the swearing in. Please join me in welcoming Officer Andrew Canino to the Port Hueneme Police Department and to the city of Port Hueneme. So I'd like to call Mr. Canino up now to pin on Andrew's badge for him. I'd like to invite City Clerk down so she can administer the oath of office. Closer to the mic.
Just raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Andrew Canino,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support and defend
that I will support and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California
and the Constitution of the State of California
against all enemies,
against all enemies,
foreign and domestic,
foreign and domestic,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
to the Constitution of the United States
to the Constitution of the United
and
States
to the Constitution of the State of California,
and to the Constitution of the State of California,
that I take this obligation freely
that I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation
without any mental reservations
or purpose of evasion,
or purpose of evasions,
and I will well and faithfully
and I will and faithfully
discharge the duties
discharge the duties
upon which I am about to enter.
upon which I'm about to enter.
Congratulations.
Thank you, ma'am.
You all.
So I'd also like to invite City Council to make any comments they would like.
start with Ms. McQueen.
So nice to have you here with us this evening, Officer Canino, and welcome to Port Hueneme. I'm sure you'll have a wonderful time here, wonderful life, the time that you spend here with us, and we appreciate all that you are going to do for our city. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for choosing our city, and I really appreciate the fact that you're willing to serve and go and help people when they call for help. That's very important. It's tough times in our country and our city, and we support you 100%. And again, thank you for choosing our city, and thank you for choosing Officer.
Thank you.
Officer Camino, welcome and congratulations on your new position. We're happy to have you here. I'm sure you're going to enjoy Port Hueneme more so than LA County. I've spent a lot of time in LA County.
All right.
Boy, oh boy, you're going to love it here, and we're going to love having you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Just want to say welcome to the family. You come into a great community that has a well-trained police department. I know firsthand, my husband is one of your sergeants, so I know the close-knit family that they are, and I'm sure you're getting the best treatment from some of the guys in the back. The fact that they chose you and you chose us just as a testament to your character as a human being. So we appreciate you, and good luck, God bless, and welcome to your family as well.
Thank you very much.
And welcome to the city of Hueneme. It's a beautiful city, and thank you for also wanting to be in police enforcement. We don't have enough police officers, so hopefully you can encourage some of our youth to also follow that path. And just want to say what everyone said over here on the council. It's just welcome. You're gonna like it, and we hope to see the best from you too. Thank you.
Very much. Thank you, everybody.
So the next item I have is a proclamation for Autism Awareness Month. Whereas April is designated as Autism Awareness Month, and whereas autism, also known as autism spectrum disorder, represents a broad group of disorders that vary widely from mild to severe and is characterized by difficulty with social interaction, communication, severely limited interests, and repetitive behaviors. And whereas the lifelong nature of ASD and other developmental disabilities require a variety of types of assistance at different points in an individual's life, and whereas our understanding of autism has grown tremendously since it was first diagnosed, and there is no known cure for autism, early diagnosis and the resulting appropriate education and intervention are vital to the future growth and development of the individual, and whereas a variety of public and private organizations and agencies strive to provide quality care, support, or services to children and adults with ASD to enable them to live as independently as possible and to reach their full potential. And whereas hope lies in a broad spectrum of treatments and in an informed public and community committed to providing support and service to individuals diagnosed with autism spectrum disorders. And whereas the Port Hueneme Police Department will wear customized autism police patches as an outward expression of an inner commitment to connect with our community, to create awareness and support those dealing with a lifelong neurological disorder. And whereas we join the Autism Society of Ventura County in proclaiming April 2023 is Autism Awareness Month. Now, therefore, be proclaimed that the City Council of Port Hueneme hereby recognizes and proclaims April 2023 is Autism Awareness Month. Unfortunately, our patches did not come in for tonight's presentation. I was told that they will be in later this week. All officers will be authorized to wear them. They were purchased by our Explorer Post as a fundraising activity, and the Port Hueneme Police Officers Association has very graciously paid for the patches to be put on officers' uniforms, because we're replacing the old patch that we wore last year for Autism Awareness Month. And those patches and t-shirts will also be for sale to the public, and they can contact our Explorer advisors, Frank Montalongo or Henry Montalongo, for information. We will also be doing a Facebook post and also some other media-related events. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commander Albertson. We're now going to move on to the consent calendar and we will consider items. Oh, okay.
So,
Go.
so for the record, I need to state and declare conflict of interest for item number 8 that I inadvertently applied a vote to, so I need to recuse my vote for that item and
So for council's edification, the way that this would be handled is because this is a consent calendar item, council may vote on items 3 through 7 and then take a vote on item number 8. Mayor Pro Tem Perez would not need to remove herself from the room because this is a consent calendar item and under Political Reform Act and FPPC regulations, she is allowed to remain on the dais as long as she does not participate in the vote.
I'd like to make a motion to approve items 3 through 7 on the consent calendar.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none, motion carries unanimously.
I'd like to make a motion to approve item number 8 on the consent calendar.
Second.
Okay, I'm going to take a roll call vote. Councilmember Gama,
Yes.
Mayor Martinez,
Yes.
Councilmember Hernandez.
Yes.
And Councilmember McQueen Lejeune.
Yes.
And I will state for the record that Mayor Pro Tem Perez is abstaining.
Sounds good. We're now going to move on to public hearings. Madam Clerk, do you have proof of public hearings as required by law?
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
Do we-
Yay. Thank our attorney.
Do we have a complete file of reports and exhibits?
Yes.
Okay. Will staff please present the report for item number 9, adopting a resolution granting special use permit number 02-23 for the Beach Soccer Promotions LLC, beach soccer tournament events, and finding the event exempt from CEQA.
Right, thank you, Mayor, and our Assistant Planner, Jose Coyote, will go ahead and give the presentation for you this evening.
Hello, good evening, everyone. Mayor Pro Tem, Council, everyone else joining us either remote or in the room. Up for consideration today is the Beach Soccer Promotions LLC for a beach soccer tournament events. This is a formally submitted special use permit labeled Special Use Permit 02-23 for tonight's consideration. So the applicant's request is essentially to use the Hueneme Beach Park for youth beach soccer tournaments. The intended tournaments are to host up to 4 tournaments annually between the months of April to July. And this special use permit request would be for a 5-year term beginning this month, April 2023, and ending on August 1st, 2027. As some of you may recall, these types of soccer tournaments have already been in operation from a previously existing approved special use permit since the summer season of June 2017. This applicant's request is similar in the intensity, so there will be up to 10 soccer fields proposed. The players range from ages 12 to 18 years old. There'll be 5 A-side teams. The anticipated players will be 100 players on the fields, plus any bench players, teams waiting to play and or leaving. At no time will there be more than 400 persons at each event. And there is about 3 vendors that are anticipated on providing services. Such services would be food trucks, or general retail. There will be overnight security and fully staffed personnel daily. The applicant will be responsible for the setup and cleanup of the tournaments. More general information here, a special use permit is required due to the event being proposed at the Hueneme Beach. This type of special use permit is considered exempt under CEQA as the project uses existing facilities and is a minor temporary use of the land. There's also additional conditions of approval to ensure the protection of the environment within the beach area. Here we see the proposed event site plan area. So generally, all of the soccer and tournament administrative areas will be located west of the pier, just south of Surfside Drive. Fields 1 through 10 will be located along the sand, where the administrative trailer, as well as food trucks and trash bins for the collection of waste will be taking place on parking lot A. Beach Parking Lot A will also be hosting the general spectator parking and anticipated other Patreon parking areas with overflow along parking lot B. The fiscal impact, it's approximately 5,700 in the general fund revenues. This is broken down by about 2,500 or 10% of the team registration, plus an additional 3,200 estimated in parking revenues from the various persons, spectators joining or needing the parking demand there. Other revenues that can be anticipated are bet tax, merchant licenses, and sales tax. The city expenditures include trash bin drop-off, pickup, and sand grooming of the site. It is now recommended that the city council adopt the resolution that conditionally approves special use permit number 02-23 and that finds the project categorically exempt from CEQA. This concludes staff's presentations. I am available for questions, as is the applicant, Christian Wagner, available via the Zoom virtual platform.
Okay. Does council have any questions for staff? No? Okay. It looks like we don't have any questions. So let's open up the public hearing. The public hearing is now open for the public input at 6:59 p.m. Are there any public comments regarding this item?
No public comments.
Okay.
Can we hear from the organizer of this event? Maybe he has a few things he'd like to share with us.
If he or she is available.
I just want to say that I've enjoyed watching the enthusiasm and the participation from so many people from outside of our community that come to Hueneme Beach to play beach soccer. It's always fun to interact, and I like to talk to people and say, "Hey, where are you from?" And it's such a good event, and I'm really happy to see them coming back again.
Yeah, this is Christian. First of all, I want to thank everybody from the council on through to the police who's been so supportive, who have groomed the beaches for us and always helped us out and help us manage our waste control, which is of course very, very important. And we want to keep it as pristine as possible so that all the young people can enjoy it. So I want to thank, and it's always been such a great welcome of all of your personnel and police department, and everybody else has just greatly supported us. We look forward to going there. I can say that, and our staff feels the same way. And we've been coming there for a long time and made a lot of good friends who follow us around from tournament to tournament. From the whole Oxnard and Port Hueneme area. So it's been a great experience. So thank you for all of that.
All right, does anybody have any questions for him? No? All right, so thank you very much, Mr. Christian. Is that your name? Wagner. The public input has concluded. I will now close the public hearing, the time being 7:01 p.m. The recommendation is to adopt a resolution deeming a temporary event exempt from the California Environmental Quality Act and conditionally approving special use permit number 02-23 City of Port Hueneme public event known as the Beach Soccer Promotions LLC. Beach soccer tournament events located at Hueneme Beach Park and take such additional related action that may be desirable. Do I have any motions?
I'm so excited to make this motion.
No kidding.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the resolution.
I second.
All right, are there any other motions? Okay, Madam Clerk, can you please, or would anybody like to discuss? Curious.
No, I think it's a good thing.
Okay. Madam Clerk, can you please take roll?
Councilmember Gama,
Yes.
Councilmember McQueen Lejeune,
Yes.
Councilmember Hernandez.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Perez.
Yes.
And Mayor Martinez.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Okay. Yay for soccer.
Yay for a beach.
We're now going to move on to business item number 10, something that I've been waiting for a while, been very patiently waiting. Adopt a resolution recognizing a new sister city relationship with the city of Puerto Vallarta, Mexico, and authorizing the establishment of our sister city committee. We will present the report, and I think it's going to be myself and former council member Sylvia Snop. So, is it okay if I?
Yes, I was actually just going to introduce the two of you. So, yes,
Okay,
please. Yes.
or should I just stay here, or should I go down there?
Why don't you go, Joe?
You're
Yeah,
presenting,
let's
yeah.
go. We've been waiting very patiently for this day, and I have former council member Sylvia Snop here because she's going to tell us a little bit of the history of how it first got started. So it's all yours.
Right, thank you. Good evening, Mayor Martinez, Mayor Pro Tem Perez, City Council and City staff. I'm Sylvia Munoz-Stopp, former mayor and City Council member for Port Hueneme, and I'm honored to be here tonight and speaking to you regarding this opportunity for Port Hueneme to become sister city with Puerto Vallarta. Just letting you know that our sister city history for Port Hueneme dates back several years. During my tenure as council member from 2008 through 2020, and my interest sparked after attending a League of California Cities conference and many conferences that came after the first one in 2009. I made mention of this interest to previous city managers, and since the city of Port Hueneme has international focus due to the reach of our special districts comprised of Naval Base Ventura County, as well as Port of Hueneme, I realized how appropriate a sister city program would be for our city. I knew we could learn more from Pat Phelan and Gil Garcia, Sister Cities International, and successive Santa Barbara Sister City programs. Pat Phelan was previously a council member for Vail, Colorado, and Gil Garcia, when I met him, was a Santa Barbara City Council member. On April 17, 2017, the City Council agenda item for funding and joining Sister Cities International was unanimously approved and included the effort to highlight economic development and strategy linking the city efforts to the port sister relationships the Port of Hueneme already had established. Work began, and after I and Carmen Nichols discussed these opportunities with both Kristen Dekas and Jess Herrera, we realized that Ensenada made better sense as compared to other international port city agreements brokered by the Harbor District at that point. In preparation, Port Hueneme Contingent Group, comprised of Michelle Kostanek, who's the former city clerk, Anna Haney, Community Services Director, and I attended the quarterly Southern California Sister Cities Regional Meeting on November the 4th, 2017, in Palm Springs to learn more about the Sister City program. At that meeting, we learned Palm Springs had a 30-year-plus history of developing sister city relationships and how many various programs may be considered by each community. They included student exchanges, art programs, cultural exchange, economic development, volunteer involvement, and fundraising. Additional cities also presented how they've continued to nurture and grow relationships. What better way to include the Sister City program and highlight for our then coming up 70th anniversary celebration and adding this to our lineup. I began to prepare the next steps, and in fact, that night I was elected as mayor at the conclusion of the year 2017. The Thomas Fire began in the hillsides above Santa Paula. I actually had to end our council meeting with the gavel in darkness, as that night the electricity went out prior to our completing the agenda. With no electricity, that meant no televising and no recording of our meeting. Yet the Thomas Fire of late 2017 and then the Hill-Woolsey fires of 2018 did not stop our pursuit. An invitation was sent to pursue Ensenada during my time as mayor in 2018. But having no reply after more than waiting a year, we suspended those efforts and began pursuing an alternate coastal city in Mexico. But who would that be? Many people were involved in our interest in our first round, with support coming from Camarillo then City Council member Mike Morgan, Gil Garcia, Pat Phelan. We even reached out and talked to state representatives, as well as Christy Weir, City Council member for Ventura at the time, about Ventura's relationship with Laredo. As you have witnessed, sometimes things take a while to be done at the city level. So it wasn't until October 2019 we would be then considering Puerto Vallarta. And we have been offered the luxury and collaboration of working with Santa Barbara Sister City Committee, who over 50 years has developed great relationships with Puerto Vallarta and their program. With our combined amenities, resources, and focus areas, we would actually complement, not compete, with Santa Barbara. In early 2020, Mayor Laura Hernandez and I, as Mayor Pro Tem, jointly authored and signed a letter of invitation to our counterpart in Puerto Vallarta, knowing they would respond in the positive. In fact, our city was to host the upcoming quarterly Southern California meeting for sister cities that spring of 2020, but a month later, COVID-19 hit. The entire country and world was on hold indefinitely. With the world turned upside down, we postponed the meeting and the sister city follow-up. Puerto Vallarta, who depend on tourism for a vast portion of their economy, was found to be in dire circumstances. No tourism meant no income for thousands of individuals who depend on this for their livelihood and their families. Santa Barbara Sister City team went into action and raised funds to help with basics. And I mean, these were basics, such as food and groceries, to help those who worked in the hotel and tourism industries and those hit the hardest by the shutdowns. What transpired over the next 18 months was a valiant effort to save our communities and residents, bringing us all through the pandemic. Our sister city agreement would have to wait, as did many other items of interest. Sister Cities International actually went on to host virtual conferences that I attended, as did then the city council meetings went into the virtual conference mode. Fast forward to late 2022, news spread about Puerto Vallarta pulling together the Sister City Agreement, and now with the new city council members here on board, we could move forward. So what was planned to transpire in spring 2018 as a highlight for our 70th anniversary, in essence, has turned into a highlight for the 75th anniversary celebration, and I'm grateful for this happening now. In addition, as the host city for the Alaska Airlines crash, Flight 261, here in our beautiful city of Port Hueneme, that flight originated from Puerto Vallarta, and the family group led by Steve Campbell and family members are forever linked to this community. And now we're linked to Puerto Vallarta. So who knows how we've come together for such a time as this. Families, businesses, and people forever intertwined makes for a remarkable and heaven-sent program to help memorialize our knitting together as a vast international community of one. We have a new sister city coming to town, July 6th through the 13th of 2023, and realize our calendars must be formalized soon. So what better way than to request the formation of this ad hoc committee, as well as a community group to begin shaping our program. Thank you, Mayor Hernandez, or Mayor Martinez, sorry. Thank you then, Mayor Hernandez, City Council, and city staff for your efforts to bring about the sister city engagement and to make it appropriate here as we celebrate the 75th anniversary, April 3rd, 2023.
And we have some photos. So Sylvia gave me this first photo. I don't know if you want to explain a little bit about this picture.
Yeah, so Sister City Santa Barbara actually had a gathering of the Southern California region sister cities. And so all the cities, the representatives of the programs that they run came to this Santa Barbara meeting. And this was the morning that both Marty Correa, who's the Mrs. Marty Correa de Garcia, and Gil Garcia actually posed the question, hey, Port Hueneme, why don't you become a sister city to Puerto Vallarta? we know we're involved, but if you came along, we would really blend our resources and it would be a nice thing to do. And so this was to highlight then that conversation we had at the conference.
And then I got appointed to the Sister City task in early 2021, right after I got elected, and it took about 2 years, but it ended up being getting to know Gil Garcia and Marty Garcia again. So this is us in Puerto Vallarta. But just know it took a lot to get me out there. I went to League of Cities. I tried to get help. They directed me to the website. I checked out the website. I felt like I didn't really know where I was going. And then I ended up meeting Gil and Marty Garcia at the what's it called, in Oxnard, the Mexican consulate. And so they gave me the idea. They mentioned it, and then so I gave him my number, I gave him my email. We started communicating, and then little by little, Gil was pushing me. And in December, he wanted me to go for the 50th anniversary so that he can see all the wonderful things that they had been doing. Unfortunately, the trip wasn't fully approved, and I couldn't go because I had to teach. So thankfully, it got approved again for February. Gil was going to Puerto Vallarta and to find all these artists and get the Madonari art going again, because it was first introduced to Puerto Vallarta. Like, it was the first place in Mexico that it was introduced. And so if you don't know what Madonari is, it's Italian art that looks very, street art that looks very realistic. And it's really, really amazing art. They do it in Santa Barbara. And they want to bring it back to Puerto Vallarta because it got really small, the event, and it's been growing everywhere else in Mexico, Mexico City, Guanajuato, Guadalajara. And so he went out there in search of artists, fundraising, and seeing people that would be interested in making it happen again. And so right away, he had all these meetings for me. So this is Natalie, and her interpreter. She's a director of a museum over there. And I met a lot of artists, and I didn't take photos with everyone, but this was already our second meeting on the first day that I landed there. I also got a chance to meet Javier Nino, one of the artists. He's been brought to Santa Barbara to create murals, and that's some of his art. His art was very influenced by a very famous artist in Puerto Vallarta called Manuel Lepe. And then, actually, let me show you some of his art. I want to show you some of his art. Except it seems like I got this mixed up. So everybody got to see a preview of everything else. So this is some of the art from Manuel Lepe. It looks very simplistic, but I guess that's why it's really popular amongst the youth in the community. If you see, you can see the drawings of the people, and it looks very, very simple, but very, very popular, his art. Let me go back to Javier Nino. Yeah, no, I'll get to it. But one of the things that I wanted to bring up is there's a lot of stuff that we can learn from Puerto Vallarta. They're very big on tourists, and just as Sylvia mentioned, they're heavily dependent on tourism. If there's no tourism, things would go bad. But on my second to last day there, I was at their council. It's a little different than our council. And some of the pictures here you can see on the left, that's me with all the Sister City people, their committee. And then on the top right, that's me talking a little bit to everybody that was present on how I was proud that it was Puerto Vallarta, because Puerto Vallarta is actually in Jalisco, the state of Mexico where my parents are from. And Puerto Vallarta was the first city where my dad actually took us for a vacation, like a real vacation, where we stayed at a hotel and had like an all-inclusive experience. And they were very welcoming, and they were really nice, and they took us out, and that's why I have all this food. So they showed me a lot of the good food out there, which I think it's something that we can learn in terms of how do we attract more people to our city. I know we have the beach, and I know we want to get people to the beach, but if there's good food, they'll show up. Also, art, and so this is some of the art throughout the city. The one on the right, they're called azulejos. I actually painted a painting of our city, of Port Hueneme. It was my first one, and I gave it to them. And then I actually went to one of the shops that makes the tiles, and I had the painting redone in 2 azulejos, one to give to the mayor, and then one to give to the president of the Sister City committee. And I gifted the painting to the city of Puerto Vallarta. So my parents always taught me not to show up empty-handed. So that's what I wanted to do. And here's some of the art that the city has. It's a really beautiful city. If you guys haven't been, I highly recommend. I didn't know that most people go to Puerto Vallarta. I guess the touristy season is right now. Our winter is a really good time over there. So you saw a lot of tourism. I didn't realize that was the high season. I would always only go in summertime, but I guess that's when it's more affordable because it's super hot and humid. And right now it was perfect. Or at least in February it was. But one of my favorite parts was here in this picture. So it has the word Puerto Vallarta, and I can imagine us having something like Port Hueneme and like super colorful and painted, and there's a ton of people always just going there just to take a photo. So it took me like maybe 15 minutes so that I can get a photo, but I didn't actually show that photo here today. But there's art throughout the whole entire city, and this art was taken from an artist from like Spain. So they wanted to copy some of their art onto their plaza. And what I think is super cool is, check this out. This is at the center of what would it be called? The plaza. It says Santa Barbara Sister City, and this isn't. It's big. It's trust me. It's a lot bigger. And I don't know if you guys can read, but it says Sister City right there. And then they had donated back in, I don't know if I can see the date on there, but it seemed like it was in the
1987.
87. This is something that Santa Barbara donated, Sister City donated to Puerto Vallarta. And I think that was like one of their first things that they got. And then after that, they just kept getting more and more statues, and it just kept growing. And right now, they're trying to redo a bridge, and they want to name it the Sister City Bridge. And if we get the ball rolling, we might have our city name on that bridge. And it's a bridge right at like in front of the beach. It's a really important bridge. So it needs to be fixed up. And so the Sister City here in Santa Barbara is there's not saving up money, but they're doing fundraisers to get money to fix it up. And they would like to name it the Sister City Santa Barbara Puerto Vallarta, and if we do a good job too, Port Hueneme as well. Yeah. But it's hard to believe that it took this long. I'd never created a ad hoc committee. I was really thankful that I got in touch with Sylvia, even though it was a little late, but it turns out that Puerto Vallarta had approved back in 2021 that on their side they had approved our Sister City with Port Hueneme. So now it's our turn to approve it on, just to finalize it, I guess, and to get it going. But if you have any questions, then.
Thank you, Mayor Martinez and Sylvia, for your presentation. I have a question. So I understand the gist of what all this means, but what actually does it mean for us to be a sister city? What do we have to do on our part? And when you talk about shared resources and how it'll benefit, what does that look like?
So that's a great question. Sister City International was developed after World War II. And it was to encourage different communities and different cultures to not necessarily look at all the differences, but look at the commonalities of cultures. And so the exchange is for us to develop what makes sense for Port Hueneme and Puerto Vallarta. So like Mayor Martinez, I'm sorry,
It's okay.
it just gets stuck in my mind, Hernandez Martinez. So Mayor Martinez talked about, the art exchange, the artists in our area, exchanging information with artists from the sister city. There's also a component that you can actually reach into the education system and encourage those kinds of exchanges as well. Clearly, one of the examples that came to mind was when we attended the conference in Palm Springs. And Palm Springs then taught their sister city, there was an exchange about what you do to be a first responder, but to be a lifeguard. And so there was that kind of exchange. Maybe it's training, maybe it's, looking at high-tech information. Sometimes the other communities may not be so rich in terms of having all the bells and whistles and the tools that they need. And so the Sister City program provides them that connection to another community that could help teach and train, as well as maybe even have a place to provide with equipment that maybe is old for us, but technically could still be used for another community. And so there have been other cities where they've sent down their fire trucks that could be then, just deemed as not appropriate for here, but could be used in another community. Those are some examples, but clearly, like what the mayor has talked about is it could be into food, or it could be into how do we develop a tourism program for Port Hueneme as compared to then what and how Puerto Vallarta actually started.
Is there a financial component that is part of the joining of the sisterhood thing that we have to?
And then could I
read through?
answer your other question too? I see it as an asset for our city. Think of it as our city is growing and it's expanding, and then there's people in somewhere in another place in the world that we can probably learn from. A lot of the people on the Sister City committee on Puerto Vallarta, they have big businesses, and because in order for travel, they need to have money, and so not everybody, just because you're in the committee doesn't mean that you're going to be able to travel, but there's a lot of them that travel over here to Santa Barbara, and they can, and they have a lot of knowledge on how successful they became, because a lot of them, they started from nothing. I think that we can get a lot of their idea, like basically piggybacking on some of their ideas and learning on some of the things that have been working for them. For example, the art. I know Councilmember Hernandez is in charge of the mural, and I suggested, what about if we put the art on our beach? We have a long wall, where we can basically fill it with art. So that was one of the ideas that I thought about as I was out there. Also, I mentioned the food, but it's basically a coming together of people from two ends of the world. I already know that the librarian is interested. I'm hoping that the port is interested, so police officers, and basically we get them together, because what happens is they come over here and we might host them at in our homes, or they might stay at our hotels, and then we can learn from their experiences, and then we go over there to Puerto Vallarta, and then they can also host us there, or we stay at a hotel. What Gil normally does is he goes and I went with him as he did this. He was going to hotels and saying, hey, we're thinking about bringing 200 people. What kind of discount can you get us? So from what I learned is Santa Barbara, they have a lot of people in their committee, and not everybody participates in the meetings, but a lot of them go to Puerto Vallarta. And in the committees, they talk about fundraising, and they don't encourage you to send money to them. Instead, you buy stuff and then you send the stuff over to them, like wheelchairs, and they built like small hospitals, and they've done a lot of great things. I wish Gil was here, but he's in Mexico right now. But he would talk about all the amazing things that they've done. But it's a lot. So they can help us out with our festivals, and we can help them out, and vice versa. So.
One other comment too is that the majority of folks that are immigrants from Mexico are actually from a couple of states, from Jalisco and from Michoacan. And so this would help build a connection or build a bridge for the community residents here whose family members are back in, the old country, back in Jalisco. And so there's that exchange, but also then the language, is that it's shared by both countries. In terms of economic impact, the original idea was to develop it from an economic development perspective. There's several ways that a city could go for sister cities, and one is that way. The other one is forming a separate nonprofit organization. So originally, when the commitment was done, it was $5,500, a one-time grant, really from the Community Benefit Fund that is shared with both the port and the city. So that's how originally it was put together. That helped pay for the initial fee to go into the Sister Cities International Program. I think we paid, like under $500 for that.
Yeah, and I believe some of the other money was used, to send me to Puerto Vallarta and bring back some valuable knowledge. So.
May I'm really excited to embrace the art component of this. I think our city lacks art in our parks and at our beach. So I hope that we could begin to look to our sister city to get some advice, some ideas. I really like, I know at Pismo Beach, they have a similar thing. And you're right, I had to wait like a half hour to take a photo. And, we desperately need that. And we need art in our parks, at the beach, and in our city. So I'm really excited about that component.
Yeah, and the feature of the letters saying Puerto Vallarta or saying the city is actually found in, if not all the towns and cities in Mexico, many of them. And so they all have these really big letters that highlight Arandas or Guadalajara, Puerto Vallarta. It's common there. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you.
Yeah, I just wanted to thank you, Sylvia, for coming tonight and you taking the time to share with us the history and how this all began. I think it's just a wonderful idea, and I agree. I think that we lack the artistic element here in our city, and that's something I'm trying to build with the mural program. So I love the art that I saw in those photographs, and I hope that we can get those concepts introduced somehow here in the city of Port Hueneme, and then become an artist tourist location for people to come and see. So good work,
Yeah,
Mayor
and I think
Martinez. And
I've-
are you going to talk about the committee membership at all, or is that for another time?
Well, I don't think we create the members. We have to get members from our community. From what I understand is the mayor is automatically one of the members. But we need to start recruiting people because they're going to be coming over here in June, July, early July, I think. And so I know Santa Barbara has a plan on where they're going to be taking them. But I think there's 2 days allocated for them to come and stay in Hueneme. And so I've already started on brainstorming where we can take them. And I think the sooner we get it going, the better. We'll have more time to plan and receive them with open arms. But yeah, I don't, there isn't any plans other than my idea was making a video, pushing it out through Scott. And then it's my understanding that city staff is not obligated to do anything, but I know that in Santa Barbara, city staff was the ones that started it. And right now it's the same people, but they're no longer working for the city, but they're the ones that are running it, and they're the ones that are maintaining it. But they have 8 sister cities. So
Yes.
it's a lot more work.
Well, sounds like we need to put together a group of people who can prepare for this visit in July, because the time to start planning is now.
And
It's
it
right around
just,
the corner.
yeah, it just so happens that, if they're coming in 2023, then the next time they'll come here is 2025. And in between years is when Santa Barbara and Port Hueneme will send people down. And so it's an exchange of every other year that you travel to the other city.
Thank you so much.
Any other questions?
So I'll continue on with the business item then. So the recommendation is to adopt a resolution recognizing a new sister city relationship with the city of Puerto Vallarta, Mexico, and authorize the establishment of a sister city ad hoc committee. So the report will not be presented as you've already done so. Council's already asked all the questions. So are there any public comments?
No public comments.
May I have a motion and a second?
So move?
Second?
Any discussion?
Can I still vote? Can I go up and vote?
You
'Cause-
can.
All right.
Madam Clerk, will you take a vote? No, wait for Mayor Martinez to sit back on the dais.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none, motion passes unanimously.
Thank
Thank you again, Sylvia.
Thank you, Sylvia.
You're welcome.
All right, we're now going to move on to city manager comments and reports. Mr. City Manager, do you have any comments?
Sure. And thank you both for that. I know that is kind of an unusual business item when we have council presenting as part of it, but it's great and so exciting to move this forward. But just a couple of comments for you. The Bubbling Springs Park upgrade kickoff meeting was this past Wednesday, and it went well. So we are finally moving forward on this, but it will be extremely fast-paced, as you all know. So it's going to be definitely kind of at the front burner for the next little over a year, so we can get that money spent. Miranda Park, Public Works tells me that they are going to start planting 15 replacement trees in early May for some of the trees that were taken out. This will be a combination of oak and sycamore, possibly pine, but they'll need to ensure that they match our new plant palette that the committee has come up with. Measure U the committee had their first meeting in a while this past Thursday. David Scribner was selected as their new chair, and it looks like now that we've got committee quorum in place, hopefully they'll be able to meet at a regular time and on a regular basis. And then finally, we have Arbor Day coming up on April 27th. There'll be a proclamation at our next council meeting for that. And staff right now is considering looking at a formal tree planting ceremony, possibly here at City Hall, involving you all and staff as well. And if that does happen, we'll go ahead and put together a flyer, push that out through Scott and whatnot, and make sure that you are all invited and aware of that as well. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Tony. Council member reports and comments. I'll start with Ms. Martha McQueen LeJean.
Thank you. Very quickly, I just want to thank the council for approving travel to Washington, D.C. We had a wonderful trip. Councilwoman Hernandez is going to give a summary, but just want to report that we had 5 elected officials from Ventura County, the port, and the council go. We visited military and civilian leadership across the Navy and some of our state representatives. We were well. Almost everyone we visited said, wow, it's amazing that so many of you are here to speak to us. And so it just spoke to the importance of the topics. And so I think it was a successful trip. We do want to make sure, though, that we are able to take the trip annually if the budget allows for it. I think it's that important. Our concentration was specifically to Naval Base Ventura County, its military families, and the requirements that they have to be sustainable. And so we had a wonderful trip, and I think it was very important. And we got a lot of commitment to supporting the efforts that we actually submitted. And so just looking forward to the future and what the efforts that we see coming from that. And so just want to thank the council for allowing that. And then the only other thing that's going on now is I'll be attending my next committee meeting for the Gold Coast Transit. We'll be spending a day, that's Wednesday. We'll be spending a full day with their strategic plan. And so excited to be able to do that with VCTC. So thank you.
Okay, Councilmember Gama.
Thank you, Mayor Martinez. Tonight we passed our ordinance prohibiting expanded polystyrene or EPS and single-use plastic, I can tell you that our parks and beach environment needs all the help they could get, and this is going to help tremendously. There was a icon of a gentleman in this town. His name was Ted Waddell, and Ted coined a couple of phrases that are pretty apropos for tonight, so I'd just like to share them with you real quickly. There is something about better that I find mighty strange. We all support the idea until it's time to change. And so keep that in mind when you're out in a restaurant and talking to our restaurateurs. I mean, because this is a change, and it's a big change. And as we all know, change is difficult. So hopefully all of us up here can keep that in mind and communicate to our restaurants why we're doing this and how important it is to keep, and another phrase from Mr. Waddell, to keep Hueneme litter-free for you and me. Thank you.
Councilmember Hernandez?
Thank you, Mayor Martinez. I was just going to ask Councilman Gama if you wanted to talk about the Beacon Sand Summit plans.
Sure, yes, thank you. I've been working crazy hours, so I'm kind of tired. But yes, Councilwoman Hernandez and I met with Mark Baylor, and we're beginning to plan our fourth beach sand summit. Yeah, and so we're excited. We feel like it's really been educational. We're bringing everyone along on the educational side. We have great partners with Dr. Kiki Patch of Cal State University, Channel Islands, and we're going to theme it this year. We're really excited to just, again, keep bringing that information, education, and get everybody understanding in our community, in our surrounding community, why we disrupt our beach community for approximately 3 or 4 months every 2 years. It is a disruption, but it's very necessary. So we're excited to work towards that. Thank you for reminding.
Sure. And just to piggyback on the Beacon discussion, the tentative date for the Sand Summit is May 11th. And we're going to be focusing on, I called it the nuts and bolts. I don't know what it'll end up being called, but we're going to look at really what goes into this kind of project financially, so we have a better understanding of emission credits and the cost of dredging and what happens when the dredging gets stalled or stopped for a period of time. This year was unusual because the amount of material that had to be dredged was an extra strain on the equipment and then generated more emission credits. So all that's going to be discussed. It'll be a Zoom presentation, a Zoom discussion with all the stakeholders. And I believe Councilman Gama will also share some footage from his documentation of the dredging cycle that he's been working on. I just wanted to mention, first of all, thank you also for allowing us to go to Washington, D.C. for RDP 21. For those of you who don't know what RDP 21 stands for, it stands for the Regional Defense Partnership of the 21st Century. And we went there with 2 retired engineers, Supervisor Long, Supervisor Vianney Lopez, Selena Zacharias, Director of Community and Government Relations from Cal State University, Channel Islands, and she also got into some discussions about the port. Brian Miller, Chief of Staff from Supervisor Long's office, and then we had 2 lobbyists who escorted us and shepherded us from meeting to meeting. We went to meetings within the Capitol building, met with Julia Brownlee's office, Feinstein's office, Padilla's office. We went to the Pentagon and met with some various assistant secretaries. And some of the issues that we talked about had to do with encroachment on the sea range off the base coast. We gave them a brochure that the RDP 21 folks had developed regarding unmanned vehicles. And really, we went there to advocate on behalf of Navy personnel who need assistance in mental health, with housing, childcare. And it's really, it makes it worthwhile when I can turn on a committee meeting, a budget hearing where the military command is talking about the very issues that we discussed in Washington, D.C. And those were I'm glad to know that the priorities that they are setting are the priorities that we took to Washington, D.C., and that I'm sure others as well. But one thing that is unique about our group is that there are very few jurisdictions have a group like RDP 21. Ventura County is one of the few that has a collaborative structure of elected representatives, educational representatives, and retired military. So it's really a unique formation and a collaborative group that I think has been quite effective. So we do look forward to going again next year to advocate for programs that may have not received funding and continue to support our base, as it is a key economic driver for our community. Speaking of the USS Santa Barbara, one of the gentlemen, we had the Admiral Fleet Commander, forget his first name, Paparo. We watched a video of him interviewed by 60 Minutes the first day of our trip. And he was actually at the ceremonies for the USS Santa Barbara, and I got to meet him in person. But if you are interested in watching the 60-minute video, he talks about the military capabilities in today's world right now when we're looking at threats from other international countries like China and Russia. So it's a very interesting interview. It's the first 15 minutes of the 60-minute program, and it kind of puts everything in perspective of why we make these trips and why we need to support our base. I also want to thank the REACH team and thank Maya Zumaya and all of those folks who made the 75th anniversary happen. I hope that we have a follow-up report where we can formally thank them together, especially Maya. I heard no negative comments whatsoever. I know when you put these events together, on the inside, there could be chaos, there could be, confusion, but I don't think the public saw that part. I mean, and that's just to be expected. What I heard back from the public was all positive, and I'm just so proud of the work that Maya did and the rest of the team. So I hope we have an opportunity to thank her and congratulate her along with the rest of the folks. And I especially want to thank our fire department. Thank you for sitting through our meetings. I really appreciate it. But thank you for the engine company that you brought and putting us on that engine company and the banner that you provided. You'll be getting a thank you letter from us. So thank you so much for doing that. The parade was wonderful. Let's see. There is an interesting thing about going back to the USS Santa Barbara. It was all Santa Barbara oriented. In fact, if our fellow council member, Misty Perez, had not spoken up and had not pushed to get us invited, we would have missed this opportunity because there were no other elected officials there. Santa Barbara didn't even have their elected officials there. Maybe one. We had a couple from Camarillo, but I don't know that they were there as VIPs. But we got to have breakfast in the Bard Mansion, and then we got an escort down to the ship. We got seated in the second row, and that wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for our fellow councilwoman, Misty. So I just want to publicly thank you for making that happen, because it's once in a rare while that you get the opportunity to see the commissioning of a Navy ship. So thank you for that. The mural project is coming along. I saw a example of a public mural with direct engagement of kids and adults and people who attended the Whale Festival in Channel Islands. It's a painting by numbers kind of arrangement, and I was just so impressed with it. I reached out to Michael Tripp from the harbor to find out who did that mural. So we're going to it turned out it's OPAC. It's the people from the Oxnard Performing Arts Center. And Tony and I will be meeting with them to find out if we can develop some kind of arrangement to have them do a mural like that with the themes of our choice for one of our upcoming festivals, maybe the Shumash Festival or maybe the Hueneme Beach Festival. So we have a meeting next week, I believe, the 21st, so coming up in a couple of weeks. one of the things we brought back from the RDP 21 visit was information about workforce development. And there was some follow-up issues that are going to be spearheaded through Cal State University and also Oxnard, the city of Oxnard, and the community colleges. Alex Nguyen, the city manager there, is very interested in the workforce development model that is here in Ventura County. And so I put a call into him to talk to him about what we learned on the DC trip and to get his idea of how we can do more to develop a workforce here in Ventura County and in Port Hueneme that's prepared for the 21st century. And I would really like to have Councilwoman Perez involved in that because you sit on the EDVC? Yes. And so I'll be bringing that information back to you. And I won't be attending VRSD on Thursday because I will be in Florida I'll be on another naval base attending a retirement ceremony. So I'm leaving on Wednesday and coming back Friday. And unfortunately, my alternate, which is Councilwoman McQueen Lejeune, you have a conflict, I believe, with your transportation.
Okay.
Yeah, so anyway, I won't be able to attend that meeting, but hopefully I'll play catch up when I get back. Okay, and that's it. Thank you.
Okay.
I don't have any committees to report on. I just want to say job well done on the 75th. I helped out putting together the parade, and I just could not believe how many people from the county, agencies, organizations, groups, nonprofits, people just came out just to be a part of our. I think that was the best feature of the entire day, was seeing everyone come and support the city's 75th anniversary. And I just want to say job well done to the city, the people who were involved, the police department for the little chaos in the morning, the everything that went into that ended up being a great day. And the USS Santa Barbara, yeah, that was all by accident. That I give credit to Juliet. She is the reason why I even knew that there was something happening that we weren't involved in. And I just saw a random email and then just started sending stuff out. And I don't know what to do about that, but it would be nice to know more about the stuff that's happening in our own city. Just, it's so amazing to me that we miss this stuff and it's happening right under our nose. But so that's all I have.
You know, that goes back to the whole fact that this was a Santa Barbara planned event, and so the invitations were odd. The representation there in the audience was odd. They didn't care who we were, really. So even though we had our badges, Juliet, if you're listening, we did have our badges on. There was no announcing of who, the VIPs were, or that the city council was there. Everything was focused on the Santa Barbara community.
It actually made me feel like we were in Santa Barbara instead of in Hueneme, because every reference, even when they're talking about the people there in support who were in the audience, that's all they talked about was Santa Barbara. And I'm like, oh, well, there's us over here.
Yeah. And the mayor of Santa Barbara spoke. So, so we were kind of the second
Stepchild.
The stepchilds, exactly.
I wasn't offended.
I wasn't either. It was a great
But,
event.
Great event.
I feel like I graduated from UCSB, so I kind of feel like I'm a little part of Santa Barbara. But I do want to thank Mayor Pro Tem Perez for getting us there. And I want to mention the festival was a success. The parade was really nice. And it was just really good 2 weeks,
Oh, I want to say thank you to county for letting us ride on that fire truck. That was so neat. That was when I had to imagine what I was going to ride on, but that just exceeded expectations. So thank you.
All right. We're now going to move on to future agenda items. I'd like to remind council members that all requested items require a motion, a second, and a majority vote per adopted council policies to be placed on the future agenda. Does anybody have any requests for future agenda items?
I would like to see, I don't know, if it may be a staff report or to check into maybe doing a once a year large item cleanup. Like what is that called? Oxnard does it all the time. Like a curb
Bulky item?
cleanup, like a curb cleanup where you put out your big items and they come by one day a year and pull all your bulk stuff that doesn't fit in the trash can?
That's what I have to do.
Second.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none, motion passes unanimously.
All right, so there's something I'd like to add to a future agenda item. Ms. McQueen, I don't think you were here when we had talked about what I'm about to say, but I know everyone else was. I had mentioned at one point, maybe like about a year and a half ago, maybe even 2 years ago, I had calculated how much it would cost for us to open up the gym at the Boys and Girls Club. I had spoken to the CEO of the Boys and Girls Club here, and she said that she has no problem with opening it up for the community, but they have to have somebody on staff, one of their staff members there, and it's about like $20 to keep them there. And we don't necessarily need any staff from the city, but we had talked about maybe allocating like, I don't know exactly when we had talked about it, but it was about $10,000 to have it open for 3 days a week, for 3 hours for the entire year. And I thought that would be something good for our community to have an open gym, because we don't have an open gym in our city. And I mean, having to build one would be even more expensive. And it's really nice of the Boys and Girls Club to offer that they can set it up for us. When I spoke to Charles, and when I spoke to our previous city manager, he had said that that money was then used for the teen center, which I have no problem with, but I wish he would have let us know that that money was going to be moved around. So I'd like to have this idea brought back for us to talk about at a future agenda item. So, could we?
Second that.
Oh, okay.
All in favor?
Oh, excuse me, is there a discussion?
I will abstain. I sit on the board.
Okay.
All in favor? All opposed? Okay, and let the record reflect, Mayor Pro Tem Perez is abstaining. Motion passes.
Okay, are there any other future agenda requests? All right, so I'd like to say that today went very well. I'm very happy that we got to put the sister city on the agenda. I'd like to adjourn the meeting. The time is now 7:55 p.m.